This story is titled, My Unfaithful Wife Filed for Divorce a Month After Our Engagement Party with Her Ex-Boyfriend. Now she texted me, I want you to be my backup plan. Absolutely not. Hey Reddit, I'm a 32-year-old guy who never thought he'd be one of those people posting about marriage problems on Reddit. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. The situation I'm about to describe is so messed up that I need to get it off my chest. Maybe writing it all down will help me process everything that's happened. Fair warning though, this is going to be a long post. I was married to Lily, 29F, for literally just 2 weeks before everything went straight to hell. 2 weeks. We still had wedding gifts sitting unopened in our living room when she decided to blow up our entire life together. I still can't believe this is my reality right now. Some background, I guess. I'm a civil engineer who mainly works on bridges and infrastructure projects. I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and honestly love my job even though the hours can be crazy sometimes. Lily was, or is, I don't even know what to call her now, a wildlife veterinarian, which is actually how we met. It's kind of a funny story. There was this injured falcon at one of my construction sites, and my site manager called the local wildlife rehabilitation center for help. Lily showed up in these muddy boots with messy hair, looking completely out of place among all the guys in hard hats. But man, the way she handled that falcon was something else. She was so confident and gentle at the same time, and it was clear she knew exactly what she was doing. We started talking while she was treating the falcon, and I found out she'd just moved to the city. I offered to show her around sometime. Smooth, I know. But surprisingly, she said yes. That turned into dinner, which turned into more dates. And before I knew it, we'd been together for 3 years. Everything seemed perfect, you know? We had our little arguments about stupid stuff like whose turn it was to do laundry or me working late, but nothing major. She supported my insane work schedule when I had huge projects going on, and I supported her thing about trying to save every injured animal in a 50-mile radius. Our apartment basically turned into a mini animal hospital sometimes. We even had a 3-legged raccoon living in our guest bathroom for a week once, but that's another story. We wanted the same things in life. A couple of kids down the road, a house in the suburbs, dogs, obviously with her job. We even agreed on stupid little things like both hating cilantro and loving true crime documentaries. Looking back now, maybe things were too perfect, if that makes sense. The wedding was exactly what she wanted. This fancy mountain resort ceremony that cost me a lot. It took me about a year to save up for it, but seeing her happy made it worth it. Her dad, this scary-looking ex-Navy guy covered in tattoos, actually started crying while walking her down the aisle. I never thought I'd see that dude cry, but there he was. My college buddies all flew in, even my best friend Ethan, who had been working on this massive project in Tokyo for the past 2 years. He actually warned me about some red flags he'd noticed with Lily, but I brushed him off like an idiot. I should have listened to him, but you know what they say about love being blind and all that BS? The ceremony was beautiful, I guess. Lily spent months planning every little detail. The flowers, the music, the special wine we'd ordered from this vineyard we visited on vacation. She even hired this lady to do calligraphy on all the place cards, which cost a fortune. My mom kept saying she'd never seen a more beautiful wedding, but now I'm wondering if she was just being nice. The reception was wild. We had this amazing band that kept everyone dancing all night. Lily's cousins from New Zealand came and taught everyone some crazy drinking game that had half the wedding party hung over the next day. I remember looking at Lily during our first dance, thinking how lucky I was, and how this was the start of our perfect life together. The honeymoon was in Thailand. It took me 6 months of overtime and saving every penny to afford it, but Lily had always dreamed of going there. We got back home, and everything seemed great for exactly 14 days. We were still in that honeymoon phase, you know? Still calling each other husband and wife just because we could. Still wearing our rings like they were the most precious things in the world. Lily was even talking about maybe starting to try for a baby next year. Then everything went to shit. 2 weeks after we got back from Thailand, I started noticing Lily acting weird. And when I say weird, I mean like completely different person weird. Looking back now, there were so many red flags I ignored like a complete dumbass. The first thing I noticed was that she was always on her phone. Before the wedding, she used to give me shit for checking work emails at dinner, but suddenly she's the one hiding her phone under the table and texting nonstop. When I'd walk into the room, she'd quickly flip her phone over or switch apps. My dumbass just thought she was planning some kind of surprise for me or something. Then she started staying late at the wildlife center all the time. Now for context, yeah, She'd had late nights before when they'd get emergency cases, but this was different. She'd tell me there was an injured eagle or something that needed overnight monitoring, but her story started having holes. Like one night she said she had to stay late for a hurt fox, but I saw on the center's Instagram that they'd already released that fox that morning. Still, I didn't want to believe what was obviously happening. I was crazy busy with work during all this. I had this huge project designing a bridge downtown that was causing all kinds of structural challenges. The worst part? It was for Zach's hospital. They were expanding their trauma center, and my firm landed the contract. That's probably how Heather knew he was back. She saw the project plans at our place one night when she was over with Lily. Speaking of Heather, Lily's bestie started showing up at our place more often. Let me tell you about Heather, 31F. This chick has been divorced twice before 30, has a new boyfriend every month, and loves stirring up drama. She's got that "if you can't handle me at my worst" quote as her Instagram bio, if that tells you anything. Lily and she got close at work where Heather is a receptionist at the wildlife center. I never liked her but kept my mouth shut because, well, she was Lily's friend. Something about Heather always bothered me, though I couldn't put my finger on it until later. I found out through Tim, Lily's brother, that Heather had actually tried to get my number when I first started coming to the wildlife center about the falcon situation. Apparently, she'd been pretty interested, but I was already focused on Lily. I should have realized sooner how bitter she was about that whole thing, but I never mentioned it to Lily. I'd overhear them whispering and giggling in the kitchen, but they'd go quiet as soon as I walked in. Once I heard Heather say something like, "You deserve to be happy, and you can't help how you feel," but I tried to ignore it. Looking back, Heather was basically pouring poison in Lily's ear 24/7. I remember the exact morning everything fell apart. I was in my home office reviewing these complicated foundation plans and had been up since 5 a.m. trying to figure things out. Lily comes in looking like she hadn't slept, still in her PJs, even though it was nearly 11 a.m. She sits down on the couch in my office and starts crying. Not like normal crying, but that ugly crying where you can barely understand what someone's saying. I immediately thought someone had died or something. Turns out Heather had convinced her to meet up with her ex Zach a few days ago. Apparently, they'd been texting for weeks before that. Zach wasn't just any ex, he was her college sweetheart, the guy she dated for 4 years before he left to join Doctors Without Borders in Africa. Now he's back in town working as some hotshot trauma surgeon at the local hospital. And this piece of work actually told Lily he'd made a huge mistake leaving her and still had feelings for her. And instead of telling him to fuck off like any normal married person would, Lily was there crying about how confused she was and how she needed to figure things out. She actually sat there and tried to explain to me how Heather helped her realize she had unresolved feelings that she needed to explore. She said she owed it to herself to figure out if she still had feelings for Zach before fully committing to our marriage. I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? We're already married. The thank you cards from our wedding weren't even sent out yet, for fuck's sake. You want to know the most fucked up part? She tried to make it sound like she was doing me a favor. She said something like, "I need to be sure about us, so we don't end up divorced in 5 years when we have kids." I just sat there staring at her, probably looking like an idiot with my mouth hanging open. Looking back, Heather's whole plan was pretty obvious. She's the one who first accidentally mentioned to Lily that Zach was back in town working at the hospital. She started casually bringing him up in conversation, showing Lily his social media posts about being back from Africa. Classic manipulation, but Lily fell for it completely. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Instead of doing what she probably expected, begging her to stay, crying, or promising to be a better husband or whatever, I just started laughing. Not like happy laughter, but that kind of laugh you do when something is so fucked up it's almost funny. She looked at me like I was having a mental breakdown. Maybe I was, to be honest. Then I did something that surprised even me. I opened my laptop, Googled best divorce lawyers in our city, and started making calls right there in front of her. Lily completely freaked out. "What are you doing?" I said I needed time to think, not that I wanted a divorce. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "No, what you need is to get the fuck out of my house." Not my proudest moment, but hey, I was running on like 2 hours of sleep, and my whole life was imploding. She started crying harder, saying I was being unfair, and that I didn't understand how complicated this was for her. Then she hit me with this gem. Zach was my first love. I need to know if there's still something there. I'll always wonder, what if I don't explore this? That's when I lost it. I told her, "You know what's not complicated? Marriage vows. You either meant them or you didn't." And clearly, you didn't. Then she tried to turn it around on me. She said I was being controlling and unsupportive by not letting her figure out her feelings. She said Heather told her that any man who truly loved her would understand and give her space to figure things out. Heather? Seriously? I pulled up our wedding video on my phone. Literally had to scroll past hundreds of honeymoon pics to find it, and made her watch the part where she promised to forsake all others. I asked her if she was lying then, or just lying now. She got real quiet after that. Then she tried a different approach, suggesting maybe couples counseling would help, and that we could work through this together. I told her the only thing I needed to work through was finding a good lawyer. That's when she dropped the bomb that really showed what kind of person she is. She says, "Zach's just coming off a 36-hour shift at the hospital. He said I could come stay with him while we figure this out." She already had bags packed in her car. Turns out she'd been planning this for days, had already moved some of her stuff to his place. While I was working my ass off on this huge project, she was literally planning her exit strategy with her ex. Cool, cool, cool. I wish I could say I kept my cool, but nah. I started going through our wedding gifts, most still unopened, and literally making 2 piles. She's not getting, and she can have. Real mature, I know. Then I called my buddy Ethan, the one in Tokyo, and he got on the first flight back. True bro move. Lily tried to say I was being dramatic by getting him involved. I reminded her she's the one who got her ex and toxic bestie involved in our marriage, so maybe she should sit this one out. The next few hours were a blur. Lily kept switching between crying, trying to explain herself, and getting mad at me for not being understanding. Like, understanding of what exactly? That my wife's getting ready to cheat on me with her ex and wants my permission? The whole time, she kept saying things like, "I still love you. And this doesn't mean I don't care about you, and my personal favorite. You'll always be special to me." Like she was breaking up with a high school boyfriend and not her husband of 2 weeks. I finally told her she had 2 choices. Either cut all contact with Zach immediately and we maybe try to work through this, or leave right now and we're done forever. She literally said, "Why does it have to be so black and white?" That's when I knew it was over. I told her to get out and not come back. She tried to hug me before leaving, the audacity, and I just walked away. The sound of her car driving off is still stuck in my head. I watched her pull away from our dream house, probably heading straight to Zach's place, while our wedding cards were still sitting on the kitchen counter. I spent that night getting blackout drunk with Ethan on our back patio after he'd landed. I deleted all my social media because I couldn't handle seeing her face, and called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. So I'm hungover the morning after Lily left, sitting on my couch with Ethan trying to figure out what the fuck to do next, when someone starts pounding on my front door, like aggressive cop style knocking. I'm thinking maybe Lily came back to get more of her stuff, but nope, it's her dad Frank. Now let me tell you about Frank. Dude's about 6'4", covered in Navy tattoos, and looks like he could snap me in half. He's ex-Navy who now runs this super successful security company. He'd always been cool with me, but seeing him on my doorstep that morning had me shitting bricks. I opened the door expecting him to punch me or something. Honestly, I wouldn't have blamed him. His daughter probably told him some BS story about me being an asshole. Instead, this big, scary dude just looks at me and says, "My daughter's a fucking idiot. Got any coffee?" Turns out Lily had called her mom crying about how I was being unreasonable and cruel by not supporting her need to explore things with Zach. Her mom bought it. They've always been super close, but Frank wasn't having any of it. We sit in my kitchen, me, Ethan, and Frank, drinking coffee and Jack Daniels. Hey, it was a rough morning. Frank starts telling us how he never liked Zach back in college, said something always seemed off about him. Then he drops this bomb. Zach had actually cheated on Lily back then, before the whole Doctors Without Borders thing. Lily never knew. Her friend had told Frank, but they decided not to tell her because she was too fragile at the time. So now I'm sitting there realizing my wife left me for a guy who cheated on her years ago, and she doesn't even know it. You can't make this shit up. Frank was actually the one who recommended my divorce lawyer. Turns out he'd used the same guy for a business dispute. He also offered to have some of his security company guys talk to Zach, but I turned that down. Tempting, though. The next few days were a mess. I had to call my boss and explain why I needed time off from the bridge project. Dude was actually super understanding. Turns out his first wife had done something similar. He gave me 2 weeks paid leave and said the project would still be there when I got back. The worst part was dealing with all our shared stuff. Our house looked like a wedding threw up in it. Gifts everywhere, cards, photos. I found our marriage certificate in a pile of mail and had a legit breakdown. Lily's little brother Tim, who works at my firm as a junior engineer, came by to get some of her stuff. Poor kid was caught in the middle. He told me Lily was staying at Zach's place and acting like a completely different person. Said she was posting all these weird quotes on Instagram about following your heart and finding your true path. The family dynamics got real messy real quick. Lily's mom was fully Team Lily, saying stuff like, "You need to give her space to figure things out," and "Marriage is about understanding and patience." Meanwhile, Frank and Tim were on my side, which caused some huge fights at their house. Then Heather started running her mouth at the wildlife center, telling everyone Lily left me because I was emotionally unavailable and working too much. Several of Lily's coworkers who I thought were our friends started unfollowing me on social media. Real mature. But here's where karma started kicking in. Remember that huge project I was working on? Turns out Zach's hospital was one of our clients. I called my boss and explained the situation. He immediately requested a different project manager take over because of the personal conflict. Zach apparently threw a fit when he found out he'd have to deal with delays because of the switch. The financial stuff was a nightmare. We had just combined our bank accounts after the wedding, so I had to freeze everything and start untangling our money. Thank God we hadn't bought a house yet. We were still saving up for a down payment. The only real asset we had was my condo that I'd bought before meeting her. Lily tried calling me a few times during all this. She left these long, rambling voicemails about how she still cares about me and hopes we can be friends someday. Like, yeah, sure. Let me pencil that in right after I finish burning all our wedding photos. Her dad kept me updated on what was happening on their end. Apparently, Lily and Zach were playing happy couple all over town, going to fancy restaurants, posting cute pics together, acting like she hadn't just blown up her marriage for this BS. The worst part? I found out they'd been texting before our wedding. Tim discovered it by accident. He was helping Lily set up her new work iPad, and it synced with her old messages through the family cloud account. He saw the texts from Zach going back months, some of them from the week before our wedding. My own brother-in-law had to be the one to tell me. That's when I decided to let go and focus on myself. I threw myself back into work. Remember that bridge project I was working on? Turned out all those late nights at the office, while Lily was figuring out her feelings, paid off. My design actually saved the client millions in foundation costs. My boss was so impressed he fast-tracked my promotion to senior project lead. Meanwhile, Lily's whole finding herself fantasy started falling apart. Tim kept me in the loop since we still worked together. Apparently, living with Zach wasn't the romantic dream she imagined. The dude's a workaholic, ironic given her complaints about my hours, leaves his dirty scrubs everywhere, and still acts like a college frat boy with his doctor buddies. Charlotte from the Wildlife Center finally told me what had been going on. Turns out Heather had been playing both sides the whole time. She'd been telling Lily that Zach was her true love while simultaneously fishing for information about him. The whole time she was pushing Lily to leave me, she was laying groundwork to go after Zach herself. That piece of work wanted Lily to feel the pain she felt when I took Lily instead of her. Lily caught them having lunch together a few times, and when she confronted Heather about it, that snake actually said, "Well, you were married when you started talking to Zach, so what's the difference?" The karma is just chef's kiss. Charlotte, one of the senior vets at the Wildlife Center, reached out to me. She'd been Lily's mentor when she first started there, and she was disgusted by how everything went down. Charlotte had seen firsthand how much overtime I put in to pay for the wedding, and she couldn't stand hearing Lily tell everyone I was controlling and worked too much. Charlotte became my eyes and ears at the center. She sent me screenshots of Lily crying in the break room because Zach had forgotten their 1-month anniversary. Like, you left your husband for this dude, and you're crying about a 1-month anniversary? Make it make sense. The real turning point came when Tim told me I needed to hear something. He'd seen Lily at their parents' house when he went to pick up some stuff. He said she looked completely different from the sister he knew, wearing all this fancy designer stuff. Apparently Zach makes good money, but looking tired and sad. She tried to hug Tim. What the fuck? And he just stepped back. He asked her how her journey of self-discovery was going. She started crying, saying she missed me and our life together. She admitted that Zach wasn't who she thought he was. You know what Tim did? He laughed. He told her, "This is hilarious," and said he had a meeting to get to. He didn't. and walked away. The old Tim would have tried to comfort her, maybe even considered advocating for her. New Tim just got a protein shake and crushed his deadlift PR that night. I've taught him well. Then I got a call from a headhunter about this massive project in Barcelona. They had heard about my foundation design solutions and wanted me to lead their new eco-friendly bridge development. A 2-year contract, 7 figures, full relocation package. I took it without hesitating. When the news got around, because people talk, Lily showed up at my office. She was hysterical, saying I couldn't leave, that she was confused about her feelings, that maybe she'd made a mistake. I just looked at her and said, "That sounds like a you problem," and went back to my blueprints. The look on her face was priceless. Apparently, one of Zach's coworkers saw Lily crying in my office and told him about it. Zach, being the insecure man-child he is, completely lost his shit. He started blowing up Lily's phone, demanding to know why she was talking to me. Mind you, this is the same dude who had no problem texting my wife before our wedding, but sure bro, go off. Here's where it gets good though. While Zach's having his little meltdown about Lily talking to me, guess who was blowing up his phone? Yep, Heather. Turns out they'd been having lunch together, pretty regularly. And by lunch, I mean meeting up in his office when Lily was at work. How do I know this? Greg, the project manager who took over the hospital contract after I stepped away, saw them together constantly during site meetings. Being a decent guy, he kept me in the loop. He sent me photos of them looking pretty cozy during what were supposed to be professional consultations. The same girl who helped Lily blow up our marriage was making moves on her new man. You literally can't make this shit up. Lily found out about Zach and Heather during some fancy dinner she'd planned for Zach's birthday. She'd spent like a week planning it, cooking his favorite food. She never cooked for me, by the way. Bought him some expensive watch. Then right in the middle of dinner, Heather drunk texts Zach saying she misses their lunch meetings and hopes Lily doesn't check his second phone. Second phone? This dude had a whole-ass second phone for texting Heather. Real classy. Lily apparently lost it. She stormed out of their apartment at like 11 p.m. Tried calling her mom, but she was on a cruise. Called her dad, but he basically told her, "You made your bed? Lie in it?" Called her brother Tim, but he was working late at our firm on my team now. Got him promoted last week. Guess who she ended up calling? Me. At midnight. Crying about how Zach was just like all other men and how she made a huge mistake and how she never should have left. I let it go to voicemail. Sent that straight to my lawyer, though. The next day was pure chaos at the wildlife center. Lily showed up to work to find Heather acting like nothing happened. They had this massive screaming match in the break room. Charlotte, bless her, had the presence of mind to record the whole thing on her phone. She sent it to me right after, knowing I'd need it for the divorce proceedings. The best part? In the middle of their fight, Zach shows up trying to explain. He says he and Heather were just friends and Lily was overreacting. Then Heather, this absolute snake, looks Lily dead in the eyes and says, "At least I waited until he was single, unlike some people." The wildlife center actually had to call security. Lily and Heather both got written up. Zach got escorted out. It was beautiful chaos. It was like the universe wanted me to know everything. Tim kept me updated from the family side, Frank from the parents' side, Greg from the hospital project side, and Charlotte from the wildlife center. Everyone could see what a mess Lily had made, and nobody was letting her rewrite the story. Meanwhile, I'm at my office finalizing my Barcelona contract, getting ready to piece out of this entire situation. The company's even paying for Ethan to come work with me. Gave him a senior engineering position because he's actually brilliant when he's not babysitting my drunk ass. Lily tried damage control. She sent me this long-ass email about how she sees things clearly now and realizes what she threw away. She said leaving me was the biggest mistake of her life, that Zach was just a fantasy and reality hit her hard. My response? Cool story. Please direct all future communication to my lawyer. Then she tried getting her family involved. Her mom finally got back from the cruise and showed up at my place unannounced. She started going on about how young people make mistakes and true love deserves second chances. Frank, Lily's dad, found out and was pissed. He came and got her, but not before telling me he's still coming to Barcelona to visit once I'm settled. Legend. I found out through Tim that Lily moved back in with her parents. Zach's apparently already dating some nurse from pediatrics. Heather got fired from the wildlife center for creating a hostile work environment. Took them long enough. So my firm decided to throw this huge farewell party for me last Friday. They rented out this fancy rooftop bar downtown, invited basically everyone from the company plus some clients. Tim, Lily's brother who works with me, helped plan it. He specifically didn't tell his family about it, for obvious reasons, but somehow Lily found out anyway. Pretty sure Heather told her, because she's still friends with one of our receptionists. The party was actually going great at first. All my work friends were there. Even some of my college buddies showed up. I was feeling good. Got my Barcelona visa approved that morning. My new place there is all set up, and I'm in the best shape of my life thanks to all that post-breakup gym time. Then around 10 p.m., guess who shows up? Lily. But wait, it gets better. She shows up in the dress. You know the one. She wore it on our first date that I always said was the moment I fell in love with her. She'd kept it all these years and decided this was the moment to bring it out again. She clearly planned this whole dramatic entrance thing, showing up right when people were doing speeches, probably thinking it would be some romantic movie moment. Instead, security stopped her at the door because she wasn't on the list. I actually didn't even notice at first because I was talking to this really cool architect from the Barcelona firm. Tim comes running up to me like, "Dude, Lily's here and she's making a scene." I go out to the lobby and there's Lily, crying and trying to convince security to let her in. She sees me and just starts going off about how she made a horrible mistake, and Zach meant nothing, and how she wants to come to Barcelona with me. Mind you, this is happening in front of like half my coworkers who came out to watch the drama. Lily's mascara is running everywhere. She'd clearly been drinking, and she's wearing this dress that doesn't even fit her right anymore because she lost weight from all the stress of her own dumb decisions. Then she drops this bomb. She'd actually bought a ticket to Barcelona, like a real plane ticket for next week. She had this whole plan about showing up at my new place and convincing me to take her back. She thought it was romantic. I thought it was straight up stalker behavior. I just looked at her and said, "You need help? Professional help." Then I went back inside to enjoy my party, but Lily wasn't done. She tried to follow me in. Security grabbed her and she starts screaming about how I never really loved her because if I did, I would forgive her one mistake. That's when Ethan stepped in. He just looks at her and goes, "One mistake? You mean like texting your ex before the wedding or moving in with him 2 weeks after? Those mistakes?" Lily goes dead quiet. Then she starts crying harder, didn't think that was possible, and saying how she was just confused and scared and Zach manipulated her. Here's the best part. While this is happening, guess who walks by the building? Zach with the pediatric nurse he's apparently dating now. He sees Lily having a meltdown in her old dress, looks super uncomfortable, and just keeps walking. Doesn't even acknowledge her. The look on Lily's face when she saw them together, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Security finally convinced her to leave, but not before she tried to hand me this letter she'd written. I didn't take it. She left it on the ground, and Ethan picked it up after she left. We read it later that night when we were drunk, and holy shit. It was pages of her basically rewriting our entire relationship history to make herself the victim. The party actually got way better after she left. Everyone was buying me drinks, telling me I dodged a bullet. The architect from Barcelona, let's call her Julia because irony is fun, gave me her number. Said she'd show me around when I get there. Found out later that Lily went to Zach's place after leaving the party. Nurse girl answered the door. That did not go well, apparently. Last I heard, Lily's in therapy now. Good for her, I guess. Too little, too late, though. A couple of days ago, I got ready to head to the airport. I had everything packed, said goodbye to my parents, got my place ready for the renters, and was feeling pretty good about everything. Then Lily pulled her final stunt. Quick backstory. I had a 6 a.m. flight to Barcelona with a connection in Tokyo where Ethan lives. My parents and Tim were going to drive me to the airport. Simple plan, right? Lily had other ideas. We get to the airport at like 4 a.m. And guess who's waiting at the check-in counter? Lily, with luggage. This girl really thought she was going to pull some romantic comedy airport scene. She'd bought a ticket to Tokyo, not even Barcelona, because that's all she could afford, I guess. And she was planning to... what? Convince me to take her back mid-flight? Follow me to Barcelona? Honestly, I'm still not sure what her plan was. The best part? She brought her dad Frank, thinking he'd help convince me. But Frank, absolute legend that he is, was actually there to stop her. He'd found out about her plan from Tim and came to drag her ass home if needed. Lily sees me and starts with this rehearsed speech about how love means fighting for what matters, and how she won't let me go without trying one last time. Meanwhile, Frank's standing behind her, looking like he wants to disown her. Can't blame him. Then she pulls out this photo album. It's full of pictures from our relationship, our wedding, everything. She must have spent days putting it together. She actually thought this would change my mind, like I'd see some old photos and forget about her destroying our marriage. I just walked around her to check in. She starts crying and saying she'll prove her love by following me to Barcelona if she has to. That's when Frank finally stepped in. He grabs her suitcase and goes, "The only place you're following anyone is back home. You're embarrassing yourself, and more importantly, you're embarrassing me." Never seen Lily shut up so fast. While this is happening, guess who's at the airport? Julia, the architect from Barcelona. She was on my flight because she'd been in town for the project handover. She walks up, gives me this big hug, and asks if I'm ready for our dinner plans in Barcelona later that week. The look on Lily's face? Priceless. I think her brain short-circuited trying to process that I was actually moving on. She starts this weird laugh-crying thing and says, "You're already dating? I thought what we had was special." I finally had enough and said something I'd been wanting to say for months. What we had was special, and you traded it for a fantasy with a guy who's already moved on to someone else. That's on you, not me. Frank practically had to drag her out of the airport. The last thing I heard was her crying about how I was being cruel by moving on. The irony of that statement? Just wow. The flight was actually amazing. I got bumped to first class, had some drinks with Julia, and talked about architecture and life. Turns out we have a lot in common. She's brilliant, driven, and most importantly, single. We're having dinner tomorrow. I landed in Barcelona a few hours ago. My new place is insane. View of the whole city, private pool. I just got a text from Frank. Lily's finally agreed to get serious about therapy. She moved back home, quit her job at the wildlife center, too much drama with Heather still hanging around, and is apparently working on herself. Good for her, I guess. Zach, last I heard, is engaged to the nurse. It's been like 2 months, but sure, that'll work out great, I'm sure. Heather got fired from the wildlife center and is now working at some sketchy private zoo. Karma's funny like that. Looking out at the Barcelona skyline right now and feeling pretty good about life. Tomorrow I start work on the biggest project of my career. Next weekend I have a date with a gorgeous architect. My best friend Ethan and Lily's brother Tim, who's more my brother now to be honest, are joining me here soon. Sometimes the worst things that happen to you lead you to the best places. To everyone who followed this crazy story, thanks for the support. Special shout out to everyone who told me to hit the gym and focus on myself. You were right. And Lily, if you're somehow reading this, I know you still check my Reddit even though I made a throwaway. I honestly hope you figure your shit out. But I won't be around to see it. Time to start my new life. Final edit. Stop asking for Julia's social media. Not going to happen. Edit 2. Yes, I kept the photo album. Going to mail it back to Lily's parents. Some memories aren't mine to keep. Edit 3. For everyone asking about prenups, yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. Already talked to a Barcelona lawyer about protecting my assets going forward. Never making that mistake again. Final edit. Holy shit, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards, but maybe donate to your local animal shelter instead. At least some good can come from this mess.